So we pointed out that the Yetzer Hara has no leg to stand on in the face of Koiches Makifi. But when the Aveda comes down, and the Aveda has to come down, the Koiches Pnimi, Apitamadas, there it has a means to grasp onto that and deviate your path. And so the retort to that is the Aveda in a divine level type of Aveda in Apis Tamadas, which is called his Godliness and Elokus, V'yoshem B'asok to be misboinen, because what his bonus means, not just knowing it as a piece of information, but actually delving into it in one's own mind. In such things, in such defining elements that are Bahasoga, Dafka, and the only thing that will help in this situation is if the Hizbondish is in Hasoga Dafka, because if it goes back into Makifim, it will not affect the situation. So that the Koiches Pnimim will function independently. It will still be focused on the Metzius of world. In order to purify that, you have to actually focus on Inyonim Pnim on Inyonim Apitam Das Dafka. It is not enough, and it has no effect. If you show the nefesh habahamis, that which is higher than world, higher than Tatam Das. It's exciting, but it remains in its own interests, in its own mitzvahs. In order to draw it out of that stance and that orientation, you have to go down there and deal with those elements that are pitamadas and show how within tamadas there's inyan alaki. And then when you pursue that, you begin to recognize, everybody begins to recognize the supremacy of the Holocaust. And from within tamadas, it seeks the inyan Holocaust. This is the Aveda Apitamadas Lashabir B'nam Shabbos, which is called Aveda Ditfilo. As the Rebbe says over here, that the first stage in that, the first step into that is B'der Hachmo Beetle, is to affect a Hachmo subjugation and beetle. That, in fact, is the principle of tefillah. Tefillah means that you approach before anything. You request, you ask for assistance before you have identified anything. And this is what Aveda Tefillah means. Aveda Tefillah is not after that you have identified all everything that needs to be identified. You come to it out of desperation. I cannot deal with it myself. Please help. This is Aveda Tefillah. And within that Aveda, there is what's called Hezbonus Belokus. Because in order that the Aveda Tefillah should have an effect on the Nefesh Abamis, you have to be Mizbein Elokus, to bring that Inyan Elokus into the Nefesh Abamis realm cognizance. And therefore, the Hizbonus has to be in such things that a Hasaga Dafka, the Rebbe said Dafka. Dafka means focused on that, to understand that, to recognize that which is higher than Hasaga is wonderful, but it has no effect in this situation. And the Rebbe said that Tachas HaKavanah, the ultimate intent in this whole battle, why was this battle arranged, is so that the Seichel TV, the natural Seichel means a Seichel that is based on personal experience, a personal observation, like the world level, the world process of Seichel. The Seichel TV should understand and comprehend and grasp onto the elokus that is present, to be identifiable within the world. Then he comes to recognize Does that mean he disconnected?
Nobody else beeped in. There was nobody in the conference.
Welcome to IDT Connect. Please enter your conference ID.
I have to disconnect it. That's in case someone comes up.
Yeah.
Welcome to the... Thank you. You are now entering the conference room. To exit the conference room, press ***. For help, press *9. Participant number 1.
Okay. And the approach, he says, this is an important, it's stated in few words, but it's all important. That it begins with that hachno bitl. Let me discuss for a moment the principle of tchilo, the beginning. As we said already in these discussions here, it is important to recognize that Breishis Bora Elokim is a Shemayim v'Sa'oretz. The Shemayim v'Oretz, a very great development and expanse, with unlimited inferences. And if one goes into the Shemayim v'Oretz and tries to identify and understand all that is contained therein, he will see wondrous things. And as much as you will identify wondrous things, you will see, hey, where did this come from? It will not connect into the source of where it came from. He will be steeped in the wonders of the creation itself. In order to relate to the beginning, to that which started it, let me identify these words, that which started it. That which started it is not who created it. That which started it is what's behind this starting. There was nothing compelling this starting point. What started? It's just called the rotzen, because the Eibishter he put a rotzen, a will for existence, a will for a godly presence. The will is not anything that develops out of experience. This is an inherent reality in the life of the neshama itself.
This will we're saying about Hashem, though.
Hashem is the one who gives the will to the nefesh. Dissipate is born on the Kibbutz Shemayim worlds. Yet he is the one who brings this will, but he puts it into Shemayim worlds. If the Shemayim worlds did not contain this sense of this will, they would dissipate into nothingness. As is true in human experience. A human being who does not have this principle, this nekuda of the will to live, it falls apart. No matter what you present him, you can give him the most luscious ice creams. It's not going to put him on his feet. This will is the initial gift from Eibishter to the world. This is what puts the world on its feet. On its feet means it has the stand up, it has the spirit to pursue development of itself, not just to be there as it is.
We're pointing to this as the elokus that gets identified from within a, what do we call it, worldly seichel?
That's the next step. This is what the Rebbe says. Tchila, what starts it off? Der hachno ubitul. It has to become conscious of the divine presence.
Wait, this is the first step, and we're associating that with the ratzon we just described?
Yeah, the rotzen, that's right. The rotzen is what gives the creation a divine presence.
Yeah, and it's the hachna v'bitul that exposes this ratzon.
Okay, from within, that's right. So let's put it this way. Hashem sees in the world what he wants, but the creatures within the world, the human being, how does he identify with the neighbors? He lives in the world. So he goes down into his worldly experiences. Says, oh, that's what it's about. For him, from within the world, to turn around and say and focus on the divine has to be in the hachnovi. I don't want words. I want the real thing. No matter what it is, and even that means that I'm not such a great entity. I belong to him. I don't belong to myself. This is Achnovitul. This is what draws him out of his worldly traps. So within the world itself, he seeks that which gives the world a presence, which is the Rotzen Elaki. This is why we say the beginning of this, but then Hachnovi Beetle. In other words, it cannot be taken from understanding for what makes the world a world. As much as you understand what makes the world a world, you will remain in world. It will not bring him to pursue Elokus as the basis of his life. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Man from within world seeks what gives the world a presence because he's dissatisfied with the way the world presents itself to him, or he somehow sees through the facade of what the world is.
Okay, no. See, this is the point that we're talking about. With all that you describe is not going to take him out of the world. It would only be another feather in his lapel. Oh, look what I understood. Look what I discovered.
Okay. But even to start the search.
To start the search, it could be all kinds of different things. And as long as it's not based on a known beetle, it is all from its own sake.
It's all vanity.
It's all vanity, or even if it pursues the truth because that's a good thing for me to do that. It's not pursuing the truth for its own, for the truth's sake.
Okay, but so fine. So this very necessary ingredient is the hachna bittul. But again, what drives the search would be that his own.
Correct. It's not an ingredient. No, this is not an ingredient.
It's a necessary foundation.
It's a first. It's a non-entity, really.
Yeah. Okay. And is that the answer to why he even begins a search as well? Was that something a different motivation?
When one stands, just give it a kind of an illustration. One stands in front of a king. He does not recognize a king because of his search for the king.
Right. Yeah. In that case, he merits to be in the king's presence somehow. But in our case, he was in the trap, as you called it, the trap of the world. So man's in his worldly life.
Okay. So this trap of the world, this is the whole thing. This trap of the world does not totally conceal the source of this world.
So could we say he merits to see a glimpse of the source, and he goes that way?
Yes. If he seeks it, he merits to see it.
Why would he seek it?
He would seek it because the nefesh keys tells him, look for this.
Yeah. Right.
Look at this. Upgrade.
Oh. I thought it was just Daniel who had that kind of cup. I see. Oh.
Okay. The nefesh abamis lives in close proximity to the nefesh keys. He's constantly exposed to the nefesh keys experiences. And as he's exposed to nefesh keys, and he sees what nefesh keys pursues, it itself preserves, so to speak, draws back into its own abode. And then the keys comes back again and says, come on, wake up, you sleepyhead. And still, until it affects in the RASHAB, it's AYIN for achlo. The only way you can join the nefesh keys is to hachmo bitl. Look, nefesh keys, in fact, this is what it's doing all the time. You want to have it bypassing this stage, it's impossible. it's possible for you to identify the ineffable Elokus within the realm of Hasoga, realm of Tamodas. But to pursue it can only occur if you decide to dedicate yourself to it, Nachnovabit. And like you said, where does he get the idea of the Nachnovabit? From the nefesh of the keys. The nefesh of the keys says, come join me. And the promise of success and the promise of the gain is tremendous. Because if you do join me, you will have an Abba to Elokus. But first you have to win your own internal battle to acquiesce to Achnovabit.
And the come join me by the Yidden, the Nefesh of Bahamas doesn't leave the world.
It does.
It does, but it still gets married and has worldly pursuits.
Gets married is a divine command.
Does not take vows of poverty. He lives in the worldly context. So what's the coming with? But he's oriented towards come with me. He's
come with me. Everything that he participates in, that passion, and even he says he doesn't want poverty. He wants plenty. It's all in order to live in God's world.
So he's in a worldly world, but he's facing God. It's all, or even he has plenty, but it's within God's world.
The value of this plenty,
yeah,
is because that enables him to incorporate God in his life. He doesn't have to worry about his lunch because he can learn. One of the great things that occurred when the system of yeshivas was thought of. This was not always the case. The case was that people used to hire their own teachers for their own children, their own privately. It was a very limited, very difficult path. Not everyone can pay for a teacher. And if you pay a teacher, the minute the child goes up to a higher level, it's a different kind of a teacher. The principle of yeshivas actually relieved the parents and the children from a concern of sustenance. When people donated money to make a yeshiva, and then you can come here, forget about everything, just sit and learn. I'm providing you with food and with lodging and with the Rosh Yeshiva. As long as one is involved in self-support and so forth, he cannot really delve into inyan lakus, which is super worldly. This is why he says, despite the fact that you can explain a lakus from within the world, the beginning, the first step of the nefesh habahamis to recognize and to want to connect to Elokus is b'derech mo bittul. And the Rebbe explains right after that, B'hainu shemaskim al habitl nefesh Elokis. Shemaskim, he consents. He recognizes this truth and the correctness of the beetle that nefesh Elokis engenders. Nefesh Elokis says, I'm not interested in anything else. This is the only way to get to this and to be with the Elokus. The Hashabam has turned around, can be forced initially to turn around and accept this principle in life. And this principle is presented to it by the Nefesh Elokis. It is not a principle that it becomes aware by rational explanation. Because as long as it's a rational explanation, it is still from its own mitzias and therefore it remains in the world. What can affect it is when he sees the Nefesh Elokis, full dedication, completely disregarding one's own presence, completely abandoning the principle of personal success and personal accomplishment. Allowing only one thing to be present in its consciousness, the presence of Elokus, of the Meibashin. The Nefesh HaBahamis recognizes what's going on, and he says, yes, I see what you say, I see what you mean, I see what you say. Correct, this is the only way that you can connect to Elokus. Even as Yidden came out of Mitzrayim, and there was tremendous activity around this. Nisim and Niflois, the Rebbe took them out of Mitzrayim and so forth. There is, even within that, there was still an element, what's called Barach Ha'om. In order for Eden to free themselves from the Egyptian bondage, and I'm not talking about physical bondage, because the Egyptians had no power over Eden at that point. It's okay, I'll leave it in mind. In order to free themselves from their own bondage and sense of subjugation to the Mitzrayim, they had to break away, Barachom, they had to run away from it. There had to be an element, a sense of we are declaring our independence. We are declaring our independence.
Is Hachna and Bittel, or
But
this is Hachna and Bittel?
this is the detail. Because the Rebbe is there, and that's what we want. Look what happened after they left Mitzrayim. They turned around several times and said, wait, what did we do?
We want to go back.
We stepped away from our own reality. Several times. Several times. To the point where they said, hey, let's appoint our own leader, forget about Moshe. and he should lead us back to Mitzrayim. It's a pasuk in the Torah. This is a repeat performance on a constant basis in the battle with Nefesh. This is why the Rebbe says the first thing is to consent to the union of Chano Beetle. You have no say in the matter. It's not a personal choice. It's the reality itself. But then, once you do make that break, and you recognize Elokus from a Chano Beetle perspective, then you have a real connection to Elokus. Then your whole orientation, your whole want, your rotzen is focused on Elokus.